Well, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about digital citizenship. We're making this one into a questions and answers. My name's Amanda Lawrence, and I work for Barron Eureka Warner Family Community Support Services. I've been with the agency for over 12 years, always in some type of a youth capacity. My current job title is Youth Services Coordinator. And yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to discuss some of those common questions that parents have, that kids might have. I have 4 kids of my own between 19 and 12, so I'm feeling the stress as well. And Penny and I thought that we would just do something here to help parents out a little bit. Penny, do you want to talk about you for a minute?
Sure. So I'm Penny. I've been with FCSS for 2 years now. I'm coming to the end of my 2nd year, and I work in the Warner Milk River Coots area. However, with working at home, we've now been able to reach out, and I've never had a chance to work with Amanda before because she was cold ill. And so one of the really great things about the online, along with the frustrations, is I get a chance to work with different people from the agency. And it's been fun. So yeah, as she said, we're just gonna, so as a parent speaking, you know, having my children home working on their Chromebooks, and there's been a lot of areas that, you know, you start thinking about that I never thought about before, and questions about safety and how they should be behaving when they're online. And so it fit nicely. And I had talked a little bit with my school about doing something before everything went to closing. So yeah, we're going to take this time and yeah, ask questions, use your mic. Well, I guess you can ask questions when you're watching the video, but if you have any questions after the video, feel free to email me, penny.pittman@fcss.ca, or amanda.lawrence@fcss.ca, and we can answer any questions you may have. So for the live participants today, I've posted a link in the comment section to a survey. So when the presentation's done, if you wouldn't mind just clicking on that link and filling that out and submitting it, that would be appreciated. So thanks for coming, and I'll put it over to Amanda.
All right. So just so you know, I'm going to be probably pretty informal. I'm not going to follow the slides exactly how they go. It's not really my style, but I hope to answer the questions that I put on there, and of course, if there's any that pop up along the way. Except for now, how do I get to my... There we go. All right, sorry about that. All right, so passwords and privileges. This is something that comes up a lot with kids of all ages. Lots of families, now that the kids are using computers from the school sometimes or from home, they're participating in different online chat zones, whatnot. So I thought these 4 questions would give some insight into that. So what information should you protect and keep private? So for the kids that are watching, and even the adults, we need to make sure that we're not putting our real full names on things. We're not using our birthdays, our addresses, our phone numbers, all of those kind of things, because people really take advantage of that online. Usually we know them as hackers, but it could be so many different people that do that. That will just steal your information, including if you look at surveys and whatnot from Facebook. Some of those answers that you give are usually password questions that governments ask for as well. And so trying to avoid those as much as you can is probably a good idea as well. So maintaining that privacy online, we're learning real fast in Zoom that we can turn our cameras off, we can chat specifically to other people. without making it known amongst other people. Using fake names on your, video games accounts for the kids, the computers, those are all okay things to do. And we're going to talk more in a bit about keeping our parents up to date on what's happening online. But definitely it's okay in those situations to say a different name. So how can we make a strong password? This has been a huge thing lately. I don't know how many people have noticed, but everything that needs a password now has to have a combination of different symbols, letters, upper and lower case, whatnot. And so just ensuring that you yourself know kind of what order that's in, and making sure that it's as random as you can possibly make it for you. So this one's more to the parents, but with the kids listening, I'd love for you to hear this as well. So how do I enforce the expectations I have placed on the electronics? And that's coming from a parent standpoint. So I hear from parents often, wow, they don't listen to me. They're just going to do what they want. One of the things that I strongly recommend is right from the get-go, is to have those conversations with the kids. So talk about what their expectations that they are looking for on the computer. What are your expectations? Where are the rules going to be? How long? All of those kind of things. Because we really want to have like a good relationship when it comes to technology, because it really is part of our world now and it is not going away. So if we can maintain some sort of agreement, compromise, or whatnot, as far as enforcing them, consistency works the best, right? So ensuring that you are following your expectations that you have on the kids will help them follow the expectations you have on them as well. Am I going too fast, Penny, or am I okay?
I think it's good. Yeah, people can ask questions. So one thing Sophie just mentioned here, is that okay if I say your name? Is that sometimes automatic passwords will pop up. So for you to be able to pick an automatic password, and she's been given instructions by her teacher that that's not a good idea, that you should make your own password. So
That's a really good point. Thanks for bringing that up, because I didn't know that was a thing, actually. So yeah, we shouldn't be using any passwords that people suggest for us, because again, they have an opportunity then to kind of get involved into our world that way. They're trying to get us to take the easy route maybe, and even those pop-ups that talk about, do you want to save your password? You shouldn't do that as well. Just always click no or never remember my password, because that password is in your mind and nobody else needs that access. So the next slide, just Google it. I use that because so often, I know especially in my house with the 4 kids, that it's like, oh, I'll just Google it. We talk about a question and I'll just Google it. But then we have to have those conversations that, not everything we read online is true. According to YouTube, or according to this person on YouTube, I hear quite a bit as well. And I'm constantly reminding the kids, okay, well, let's look at the validity of that. Does it seem far-fetched? Does it seem like something we should do? And just going even a step further from that, and all those challenges that aren't safe that are coming up on YouTube, Facebook, those kind of things. If somebody tells you, I'm going to use the Tide Pod example just because it's in my head, but if somebody tells you you should be challenged to eat a Tide Pod, and that's what the internet told you and that it wouldn't hurt you, just take a look back and just be like, okay, what is that true? Like, really? It seems like chemicals. And obviously have a conversation with your family or somebody that you can trust if you don't really know what truth is or what it isn't, because a lot of times just talking things out and getting some ideas and thoughts from somebody with a little bit more experience is definitely the way to go. it to be too late, too sorry, right? And so just really ensuring that we're keeping ourselves as safe as possible, mentally, physically, emotionally. And we're going to talk a little bit more about cyberbullying. But yeah, we need to protect ourselves even when we are on line, not just in person. So what is spam? I think we all probably know spam. Spam's that stuff that just comes into our email boxes or shows up on our Facebooks or other social media. And they're just ways of advertising. I know a lot of times I will get something come to my email that says, oh, your name matched with so-and-so. They have left $2 million to you. Just contact us here. And those are definitely not true. Those are one of those things that, okay, is this truth? Is it not? And having a conversation works for sure. I obviously know that that's not a thing, so I don't even click on it. Don't even, as much as you can, don't even click on those links because, again, they can grab access to your account. Another example. Oh, do you have a question, Penny?
Well, you finish and then I'll say what I want to say.
Another example is my daughter, when she was 18, got a voicemail on her phone that said that she owed money to somebody. And if she didn't give it to them, she would go to jail, that the police would come and arrest her. She held that to herself for like a day. She didn't do anything with it, wasn't sure what to do with it, and finally said, Mom, can you listen to this voicemail? Because it seems kind of weird and I don't want to go to jail. So then we had that conversation around, okay, that isn't true. And when people do and threaten things like that, I was happy that she came and talked to me because it's hard to hold that on to yourself.
So that actually leads nicely into what I wanted to say. Parents, it's really crucial that you can have some sort of a rule around or an agreement around. So what we've kind of tried is the no freak rule. So if they, come and say, okay, Mom, no freak rule, means they can tell me anything and I'm not going to freak out. I mean, we don't use it very much, but so parents trying to remain calm when they do come to you and not be upset or angry with them or blaming to them, because that really closes those communication gates. And like Amanda said, yeah, they have to know that they're not going to get in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can help keep them safe and help them to do something different next time, but just try to really keep that communication going so they feel safe to come to you. Because I think that's a big problem, is they're worried that you're going to take away their phone or they're going to get in trouble, and so they don't want to tell you, and then that can cause some major problems.
Thank you. I like that. I might have to start using that no freak rule. So then the last question on this slide is just, how do I control the pop-ups and ads that are always popping up on my internet? I know kids who are watching, it's not just you, parents also, and teachers and stuff, we get these pop-ups as well. It's just as equally annoying for us, the advertisements, but it really wants you to accidentally click on something so that you can go into their web page, or then it takes over your computer kind of thing and has a bunch of not nice either pictures or descriptions, those kind of things. So anytime that you see something that pops up, and I know a lot of times it pops up on the top left of the screen and it says, do you want to save this? Don't do it. Just click no. And if you keep clicking no, those pop-ups won't happen. But again, if something accidentally clicks yes, right? You didn't know. This happened to me like 2 months ago, and you didn't know you clicked yes. Get on it, right? So talk to somebody, a parent that can help you kind of walk through. I had to call our IT guy because it was on my work computer. So definitely making sure that you're just managing through those ads and that you're not getting overtaken with advertisements and things that people want you to look at and whatnot. That's not part of your proper day-to-day internet searches. So, all right. So I wanted to touch a little bit on social media. Um, Social media is huge, and over the last 2 months, since this pandemic and whatnot has taken place and we're more confined in our houses, I noticed that a lot more kids are starting to get Instagram accounts, some Twitter accounts. I know all my kids wanted Snapchat now. There's lots of TikTok challenges. So lots of different opportunities for our kids to be on social media right now. I wanted to put these two lists up here. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Musical.ly, TikTok, WhatsApp, Vine, Meet Me, Google Chrome or Classroom, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, FaceTime, YouTube, and Duo. So those are kind of the most common social media platforms that I see on a regular basis from within my job and in my house. And the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about those, how do we let our kids have some sort of leniency, but not too much that they're causing problems for themselves. But something that I would recommend for both parents and kids is just get involved. So I did write a newspaper article, and I think it was in the Taber Times about a month ago. Just get involved in those social media platforms, right? And so my kids would use my Snapchat and, do the funny filters. So then I could show them how to work it the right way. And so now they have Snapchat because I trust them enough to be able to do it effectively and properly. TikTok is a huge one right now. So parents are popping on there with their kids and they're getting involved, and I love seeing that. And again, this is how we know what our kids are doing. We're getting involved. We're asking them questions, right? So what kinds of things did you see on Instagram today? Or what kinds of things do you like on Instagram? I know my Instagram page is flooded with positivity, quotes and happy things to do and whatnot. So let's encourage our kids to utilize these social media platforms properly. And again, it will keep that conversation and that communication going with our kids when they're heading into some stressful times, for sure. Yes, Penny.
I have a question as a parent. So what sort of age would you say, Twitter, or maybe not Twitter even, but Instagram, let's say, or Snapchat? Can you speak a little bit about, and maybe you will in your cyberbullying stuff, but just about the age where kids could maturely handle those kinds of things? And maybe there isn't an age, maybe it's just an environment, but yeah, I'm curious about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I never like to say this is my, limit and this is what you should do, because obviously everybody's houses are different. Even my kids have 2 different sets of rules at the different houses that they go to. But so yeah, it depends on your environment. It depends on the kind of the maturity level of the kids, for sure. I would say, if I'm just like saying something, probably 11. That because they're at the point where they can understand some things now. They can be able to handle the truth, but they're still connected to us a little bit more, if that makes sense. So they're not as hesitant to show us things or to talk about it, right? And then, yeah, does that answer it?
Yeah, and what you said earlier about being involved, yeah, so that brought up for me, typically I'm a restrictor, so you can either be a permissive, you can be a restrictor, you can be involved, and I've sort of been the restrictor because I just didn't want to take the time to become involved.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit worried about, so sort of, adolescence, the time when they're sort of developing their sense of self, that too much exposure to social media can have a real impact on, body image and So those kinds of things. So I was just kind of curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just keeping up with our kids and having those conversations. It's not just about being involved in the social media stuff, but really being involved in our kids' lives. And you're right, we're busy, we are tired, we're all of those things as parents, but our kids are our jobs too. I always say that our kids are individually full-time jobs. So kids, just so you know, on top of our other jobs. And so just getting involved with what they see as healthy and unhealthy, what kinds of things do they think about body image or things that other kids are doing at school. So again, just expanding that conversation a little bit more. A lot of things I suggest, like dinner talk conversations, right? So it's not specifically set at one person, but you're asking a general question, and everybody answers that one question or two questions. And so those are really good opportunities for us to connect with our kids and for kids to connect with their parents a little bit more too, because how many times do we actually talk about our own lives, right? Our kids see us as mom and dad as opposed to, you know, people who have lives and are human, right? So I know a lot of the kids right now are on Google Chrome or Classroom. I know a lot of us adults are working on Zoom. So when we talk about digital citizenship, that really means that we need to respect the technology and we need to be responsible individuals on the technology. So I have had to shut down a couple Google Chrome meets between friends because they were just acting silly and they were yelling, and it is school property, right? And so I know a lot of kids right now have their Chromebooks at home or laptops, and we need to know, and I think I'm going to touch on this again, but it's super important. We need to know that the school can see all of it. So whatever you're putting on that goes onto your either school computer or your school account, they're being watched. Those accounts are being watched by the principals, by the teachers, and we're flagging things like suicidal behavior, conversations of like intense conflict between friends, things that could get out of hand real fast. We're flagging those things because as teachers and as a school board, we really need to remember that our kids have real things, and sometimes the computer seems like a safer place to say things instead of in person. So I know some schools tell their kids that, some don't, but I'm here to let you know it's definitely watched and recorded and whatnot. So, all right. So this next one I entitled Window Shopping, and it's really just a review kind of things that we've talked about already, but some other points to hit home maybe. So can I see what my kids have been doing on their phones or computer? Of course. Parents, of course you can. They're your kids. You have access to that. And kids, your parents have access to it. It's just like we have access into going into your bedrooms. Can we be respectful about it? Absolutely. Can, as kids, you be respectful back? Absolutely, right? So we really just need to make sure that we have that open communication. In my house, I have all the kids' passwords to everything, and I can just go on there whenever, just randomly, I go on there to see what they've been up to. So definitely parents and kids keep that in mind. So what is digital etiquette and how do I teach it? Again, it's that being respectful of the environment, what you're doing online, and being responsible for your actions, right? The computer is not a method to be, you know, mean or silly or crazy, right? It's not a method. Everything that we do online is recorded, not just by the schools, right? So when parents say to you kids, oh, nothing is ever deleted, it's true, right? And so we just need to remember that we need to be responsible and respectful, just like we need to be in so many other parts of our lives, and the computer is no exception to that. So this is one I'm getting a lot lately as well. So I heard that many of those social media platforms have secret and not good intentions. And how as parents do we know that? Or how as kids do we know that? Well, again, let's go back to the just Google it. How many things are we seeing right now that pop up on Pinterest or Facebook about parents beware? You know, TikTok has, I think there was like a pedophile thing going on about TikTok at one point. We need to keep our kids safe when it comes to that. So whether that's true or not, or people just putting thoughts in other people's heads to kind of go away from those social media platforms, we, again, as parents, check it out. If you don't know what that social media platform's about, if you've heard not good things about that social media platform, go in there, check it out, look it up, do some research on your own, talk to, you know, people like myself who have kind of gone through all of these answers and whatnot already, and could probably help let you know. And this is a huge one. Am I invading my kids' privacy by having their passwords? No. And kids, as parents, you should want your parents to have all your passwords. If something came up that they needed to check out for you, or they're seeing some warning signs that we're going to talk about in a minute, about how, you know, your relationship with technology and social media platforms and online is affecting you, as parents, we care, right? We really care about you. We're not here to be naysayers. We're not here to say absolutely not, and you're not doing it because I said so. We just want to be included, right? And passwords are part of that. Something that I recommend to families as well is work together on what that password is. So then both parents, or the parents and the kids, can be able to work out something that the kids are going to remember, but is still safe, right? We talked about those strong passwords, and then write them down. We don't want to give our passwords to our friends or to random people, or even really extended family at this point, but those people that you are living with should have a written down copy of what your passwords are. How can I approach the subject of wanting to periodically check their devices? Again, we go back to that first slide where we talked about having that relationship enough to keep the communication open, ensuring that expectations are in place, ensuring that you're having conversations about it. And one of the other things I recommend, and I mean with laptops and tablets and everything now, it gets a little harder, but have your kids only go on the internet or onto these sites when they're in a common space, especially if they're feeling a little more threatened by certain situations or whatnot. Having them sit on the couch while you're watching TV or reading a book or whatever, I would recommend that highly for sure. All right. I hope I'm answering some burning questions people have, or at least helping. So I just want to briefly talk about cyberbullying. This is a conversation that could go on for months, for years. Everybody has a story. Everybody has an experience probably on the side of being bullied as well as doing some bullying. This bullying is a common occurrence, sadly, that happens every day to every age group. But I just wanted to share a little bit since we're talking about digital citizenship. So I found these 3 stats that really opened my eyes. So about 75% of tweens and teens friend people whom they know, who they don't know, it should be, who they don't know in real life. So yeah, so I know, let's say the video games in my house, and having the online platforms now in the video games, and having those games interact with each other. My kids are introducing themselves to other kids, and they're, you know, this is my friend now, and whatnot. We always tell our kids that the internet's not the place to make friends. But just thinking about who you're inviting and what information that you're giving, right? And so If you're going to be friending people, let your parents know that that's what is going to happen, and only be on a name-to-name basis with these people just so that you can have an online kind of gaming opportunity. Use a different name. Don't even use your own name. 59% of kids engage with strangers online, and 1 out of 12 meet the online stranger in real life. I haven't heard of this too much, obviously, down in our southern Alberta area because we are small, but it happens for sure down here as well. It happens everywhere. It doesn't matter what country you live in. It doesn't matter what area you live in. People meet other people online for whatever reason and think that they can be friends in real life. We don't know really who that person is on the other side of the device, right? We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're who they say, you know, they are. We don't know anything about them. They could be an adult who, you know, is not a good person, right? Like probably isn't just a 14-year-old. So again, conversations with your parents, your caregivers about these things. Let's try not to keep that a secret. We need to keep that open with our parents. So, and then 33% of kids say they feel more accepted online than in real life. So as somebody who has worked with teenagers for 20 years in all kind of demographics, that makes me feel really sad. But I understand it. So just like meeting people online and then bullying them computer because we don't have a face-to-face interaction with them, the same goes for the other side, right? And so we feel like we can trust this person because they don't know us. How are they going to judge us? They're probably not going to go run to your friends and tell secrets that you've told them, whatnot. Real life friends are important. They're not the end all be all, but online friendships as well need to be heavily monitored. I'm not going to be the person that says absolutely not, never make a friend online. But again, just use your minds. You guys, kids are always telling us adults how smart you are and how you can be responsible. So this is definitely one of those opportunities to show that. So yeah, if you want and your parents are okay with it, you can talk to some people online, but don't make a real friendship out of it, I guess is what I'm saying. So just a couple questions around cyberbullying, and honestly, this can kind of go for normal bullying too, but why are the stats so high for cyberbullying? So we talked about that, right? The computer screen gives us unlimited confidence, it feels like sometimes. We can say what we want, it doesn't matter, nobody's gonna catch us, all of that, but let me tell you, those text messages are still there. Those, even Snapchat, when you think that they're being deleted, they're really saved on a file. So any threats, any bullying of any kind online doesn't just go away. Yeah, I think I don't want to bury that too far, but I think everybody probably has kind of gotten what I am trying to say. So what happens if cyberbullying is done on a school server or at school? Again, you're getting flagged. The computers are flagged. The teachers, the principals, the staff know. I know from experience with a couple schools that I work with, what happens is you get flagged. They call you to the principal's office, kind of have a conversation with that, and then the school counselors typically follow up with that depending on what the bullying looks like, and they try to work out that issue that you're talking about online in person with those people. So just so you know. How do I know? So as parents, how do I know if my kids have been a victim of bullying or are the bully? The next slide, we're going to talk about some warning signs when it comes to online moods. But just keep up on your kids, right? So if you know that they just got an Instagram account or a Twitter account or TikTok, and you're starting to see some significant changes in your kids, those are the opportunities to start having those conversations. Oh, you know, I saw that on Instagram, you joined Instagram a couple weeks ago, and I'm seeing you're having troubles falling asleep now or staying asleep, whatnot. and just talking to the kids. And kids, we know, as parents, we know what your kind of baseline is. We know where you're at. But if you are feeling victimized, or if you're feeling bad even about bullying somebody online, that's another conversation you have with your parents. I know my youngest, she's 12, and she friended a person on the computer, and then he was really pressuring her to like stay online and keep answering his questions. And so finally she blocked him. But then when she came and had a conversation with me, she's like, I felt so mean. Like, I felt so mean that I just blocked him, but he was bothering me and he wasn't leaving me alone. And she didn't know him. That's not being mean. That's having boundaries. That's protecting herself, right? And she did the smart thing and told me, right? And so I could get on there with her and make sure that he was really blocked, and that I could see what information had been said in case something needed to be done more about that. So that's just an example from our lives. Why are kids so mean? I don't have the answer to that. I'd like to know the same thing. But I think every age group population is mean in some capacity. And so it's not right to bully other people or make fun of them or judge them. But it's hard not to, I think, sometimes, if I'm being real. And so one of my things that I suggest all the time is just try and be as kind as you can. So let's not focus on negative behavior. If we need to think it, it doesn't necessarily need to come out of our mouths, and probably shouldn't. But yeah, just be kind. I don't know any other way of saying that. And I know in all the schools that we work hard, in the communities, we work hard to make sure that we're providing kindness across the board. Will the slander pictures information be able to be deleted? As I've mentioned a couple times, it never goes away. So if we use the example of, oh, I just lost it. Oh, your parents periodically checking your phone, your social media platforms. If we go with that example, if you think that it's okay for your parent to grab the phone, look at the information, and you're comfortable with that, then it's good to go online. It's good material to be put online. But if you were to like lunge at your phone, say, because your parent, picked it up to look at a text message, because you're trying to hide something, or because maybe you were nice in a moment, or you did something that you weren't sure you should have done, and you don't want your parents to see it, then it shouldn't go on, no matter what. So that's kind of a basic rule of practice. If you are comfortable with your parents seeing it, then it's probably okay to go online about it. What can I as a parent do to help cyberbullying? Just the same as our kids, just the same as the message I just tried to spread to our kids. We need to be kind to ourselves, our kids, our friends, the population. I don't know that anybody will ever be able to stop it, and it's something that has been going on forever, as far as I know. But we can do better, and we can build those skills for sure, and communication. All right. I'm just talking up a storm. Okay, so I alluded a couple times to some signs that I was going to talk about. So these are some of the more common signs that I talk to parents about. So if your child or children are constantly having their phone or their device of any kind in their hand, if it doesn't leave their side, if they're always like checking it and then like putting it down, checking it, putting it down, that could definitely be a warning sign that technology is beginning to take over their lives. Yes, Finny?
So just a personal example. So when the schools stopped having classes, my kids were missing their friends. So we did some kids messenger so that they could connect with some of their cousins and some of their friends from school. And then they got their Chromebooks, and then they could do the Google Hangouts. with their friends and chat. And what I noticed, and it happened almost instantly, was how everyone became hyper vigilant about dings.
Yes.
Right? Like we're at the supper table, ding goes my phone, and someone would get up to go towards the phone, and I'd be like, yeah, no, whoa, we're having supper. Yeah, I know, but no. But it's like, and I know I've noticed it before with my husband too, when driving, if his phone dings, he automatically goes to reach for it, and I'm like, yeah, not now, or I'll check it, right? We kind of become like, I don't know, Pavlovian dogs about the ding.
Definitely.
Right? And I think that's a definite, what was for me was the first sign of, oh, okay, maybe that's too much.
Thanks for sharing that story. It's for sure. And again, everybody is kind of triggered by those dings. So another sign, if they become defensive when you ask them what they're doing, what kind of information they're talking about, if you maybe see a message or like a chat name that you kind of think, that seems weird, and you ask them about it and they are like, it's nothing, or my friend made that name, or whatever. So kids, I'm trying to help you out here too. So other signs, changes in emotional state, so things that are out of the ordinary. Are they kind of more weepy or angry when they're coming off of their devices? We need to watch for that. Changes in sleep patterns. Brain development tells us that about an hour to 2 hours before bed, we shouldn't be looking at screens, which kind of includes TVs, but they're far away too. But that blue light from the computers, the tablets, the phones, all of that changes our sleep patterns. So again, try and kind of create a routine at bedtime an hour before that doesn't include your devices. Maybe do some reading, come up kind of with a workout routine or a meditation kind of routine before bed, and those sleep patterns shouldn't be as interrupted. Also, when we're on that topic, phones, tablets, devices in bedrooms, not recommended at all, even for the parents. Just so you know, guys. Low energy levels, so wanting to stay in bed all day, just wanting to relax when they're not usually like that, just wanting to be on their phone, or they're, using the coloring apps or whatever. Just checking those energy levels of our kids too. And kids making a schedule, like, when are you going to go outside? So if you have an hour of screen time, maybe you have an hour of outside time, or you play a board game or whatnot, right? And so just ensuring that you're setting your own boundaries as well, so us as parents don't just need to set those boundaries for you. If you're old enough to have technology, you're old enough to set some boundaries as well, for sure. Loss of interest in other areas of life, I think we've alluded to that. Raging is something that is significant amongst video games or online gaming. So something irritates you, and I'd equivalent it to road rage. So when people like instantly get triggered by something driving and they get so angry, that's what I call raging on the video games. And so a rule of thumb is rage more than once in a row, time for the games to go off. Time for a walk, time for a different strategy, a different something, activity, so that you can kind of lower those moods down a little bit. If something's making you that mad, there's probably a problem with it. And again, parents, that goes for us too. And begins lying about following technology rules. So if they're sneaking phones into the bedroom, if they're 5 more minutes, just give me 5 more minutes, and it turns into 20 more minutes because parents get distracted. So yeah, just watching that and being consistent and whatnot through that. So those are common signs that we see, and common signs that I wanted the kiddos to be to see as well, because if you're starting to notice these things in yourself, again, taking that responsibility to be like, whoa, I gotta kind of look through my checks and balances, I call them, and see where I'm at. So that's the end. I know there's a lot of information that came from there, and it felt so nice to just be able to talk. And I hope everybody got something out of it, and that those that are watching the recordings feel free to, send Penny or I emails about other questions or something that got triggered that came up through what I was saying. And those that joined us today, I super appreciate that. This was my first online presentation, so thank you for being part of that. Any questions that came up in the chats or anything, Penny, at this point?
No, not at this point, not from Facebook. I think we'll say goodbye, and then we can let the live people have some time to talk freely off camera. So we'll just close up and.
Perfect. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. See you soon.